G'day guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we are going to be going over my round 3 tips and predictions, and we're also going to go over my round 2 tips and predictions. Before we get into the video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and without further ado, let's just get straight into the tips. So in round 2, I got a total of 4 out of 7 correct. I got Hawthorn correct versus Sydney. It was a great game all the way through, really. Gunston kicked 5, Newcombe had 31, and Sydney were well and truly in the game for the whole of it. But the holes of Errol Goulden and Heaney definitely showed, and if they weren't injured, I genuinely think Sydney would have won by 30 plus. Now, on the Friday night at the Adelaide Oval, I tipped Adelaide. Adelaide obviously lost, but it was just an amazing game in general. Back-to-back great games, obviously, on the Thursday, Friday. Completely opposite of what happened last round. It was intense all the way down to the wire, especially with the timer just going off randomly in that fourth quarter. It was just added lots more tension. But one thing also, who the hell is Oscar Baker? He genuinely just had a random breakout game, kicked the sealer from the boundary, and he looks to be a star. This is the first time I've probably seen him actually do some good footy though. Moving on to the Saturday game, starting off Richmond Gold Coast. I tipped Gold Coast, and it was a really expected result. Lots of injuries came out of that game though. Lynch and Nate Curvis got injured, and Christian Petrarca also got injured with a hamstring. Richmond did put up a good fight for a quarter and a half, but Gold Coast just took it away in the end. Now, GWS vs St Kilda, game started very, very late. It started an hour late due to a huge lightning delay. The game was honestly very, very boring to watch in my opinion. I ended up only watching the half of it. All I know is, at least from what I saw, GWS just randomly pulled something out of their arse in that fourth quarter and nearly got that win, but St Kilda held on. Then the next tip I got correct was Fremantle versus Melbourne. I tipped Fremantle and got nothing else to say really. They unsurprisingly destroyed Melbourne at Optus. It was not really a shock. Moving on to Port Adelaide versus Essendon. I tipped Port, and Port won by 63 points. Port Adelaide were just super, super strong going to that. Rosie is now injured, got his hamstring torn. 7 players actually this round tore their hamstring. So unfortunate to those 7 players, and Jesus, injuries are stacking up. Essendon just randomly gave up midway through the game, which is just disappointing by them. And now we're moving on to West Coast versus North. I tipped North, and West Coast ended up getting the job done. This is one of the tips I'll probably be happy about getting wrong for the whole season. Eagles definitely proved me wrong. It was a very, very good win. In that fourth quarter, we actually nearly fumbled it in the end, but when you have an 8-goal third quarter, you just got to praise your work. And also that our defenders, just get props to them. Alaki kicked 3 in the first quarter because of Harry Edwards in that back line. Harry Edwards got injured, so Jinby and Tyler Young were doing runs on him. And then all of a sudden, for the rest of the game, Larky kicks only 3 goals. It was just an elite effort by our players, and genuinely gets me some good positivity. Moving on to the leaders of my tipping comp. If you haven't joined my tipping comp yet, go ahead and join. In first place, we got Fort Worth with a total score of 16, followed by Cyan Farm, who has a total score of 15, and Jade Somo, who has a score of 14. I'm currently sitting 13th with a score of 11. Anyway, let's get into my round 3 tips and predictions. Starting off on the Thursday, 26th of March, we have Geelong versus Adelaide at GMHBA. Now, Geelong are coming off the bye, but in round 1, they got a comeback win, a great comeback win over Fremantle. Shannon Neal ended up kicking 5 goals in that game he had a great shot on goal against Freo, and Jeremy Cameron kicked 3 as well. Holmes and Smith combined for 63 disposals, and although they weren't really too good in the ruck, Geelong, their midfield made up for that work and just was able to get the scores on the board. Now, Adelaide, they're just coming off a game where they just came short towards the Dogs at the Adelaide Oval. Tex played like he hasn't aged one bit. He kicked 3 goals and kicked 1 to put Crows back in the game in the 4th. Rankin had his first game back, and he definitely showed that he's a key player on Adelaide's list. Archie came down with a hamstring injury. Also on the player stats, it said Jordan Dawson is also injured. I didn't see him get injured in the game, but if he is injured, that doesn't really help the Crows too much going into the category. Now, considering Geelong is a force at GMHBA, and if Jordan Dawson is injured, which I'm going to assume he is since the AFL app is saying it. It's hard to go past Geelong in this situation. I'm going to go Geelong to win this game by 14 points. Moving on to Friday, 27th of March, Collingwood versus GWS. Now, Collingwood, they're also coming off a bye, but their last game was a loss to Adelaide at the MCG. Dacos dominated like normal. He had 33 disposals and 2 goals. Lachie Schultz was showing the skill he played at Fremantle. Been playing absolute elite footy to start off his season. Darcy Cameron was an elite role, even though the loss, but he had 9 clearances, but he ended up still losing the rucks easily to Lachlan McAndrew, which in my opinion, Lock McAndrew may be the most underrated ruckman in the comp. GWS are coming off a 4-point loss to St Kilda at NG. They nearly made the ultimate comeback in the 4th. They were 5 goals down for the first 3 quarters. Hogan was closed down in that forward line. He only managed to kick 2 goals. Phoenix Gothard was a huge role in that comeback with 19 disposals and 2 goals. Lockie Ash running off halfback, racking up nearly 40 disposals each game. Clayton Oliver and Callaghan are also stepping into the spotlight way more. And Cornelio, for his age, he's been a tackling machine this season. Considering this at Marvel, it's easy for Collingwood to rack up fans at Marvel. Also, with the games that we saw GWS have at Marvel the previous week against the Bulldogs in round 1, I'm going to go with Collingwood to win this game by 27 points. Just seems like a Collingwood game to win. If they do lose this, then I don't know what to say about them. Moving on to the Saturday game, starting off at Marvel, we have St Kilda versus Brisbane. Now, St Kilda, they're coming off a 4-point win to the GWS Giants at NG. They were dominant for the first 3 quarters of the game, but nearly lost the whole entire game in that 4th quarter, just barely escaping. Alex Taru moved up forward, managed to kick 2 goals. Mind you, Taru is actually listed on the AFL app as a key defender. Messiah Wangani Miller was finally able to break out of the shell he has been in the past 2 games. He had 27 disposals and 5 clearances against GWS, finally getting over that 20 disposal mark. And this is also going to be St Kilda's first game at Marvel this year, and normally they do actually play decent at Marvel. Brisbane, yes, they're coming off a bye, but they're also coming off a 40-point loss to the Sydney Swans. Although they had a huge loss in their side due to Harris Andrews, who is still out for this game as well. Zorko and Neil were forces for the Lions. 30 disposals for Zorko and 28 disposals for Lachie Neale. Lachie Neale was also just clearing the ball out of every contest he was at. He had 9 clearances at the end of that game. Bruce Revere and Charlie Cameron both kicked 2 goals each. And the Lions just dominated the game in clearance-wise, but their hole in their backline just led to Sydney just being able to score heaps of goals. Now, Brisbane, since they're still missing Harris Andrews in that backline, which will still leave a hole inside their lineup. St Kilda also just have a more fit squad and just, in my opinion, going into this game, most likely the better squad. I'm going to go with St Kilda to win this game by 19 points. Definitely could be wrong here, though. I definitely can. Moving off to an early game at Optus Stadium, we have Fremantle versus Richmond. Now, Fremantle, they're coming off a very dominating win at Optus against the D's. Tracy ended up kicking 4 goals, and normally with Tracy, he kicks 3 goals a game. Isaiah Dudley has kicked 6 goals in his 2 matches this year. He's an absolute star at the moment. Caleb Sarong got tagged all game, but that just let the play open for Andy Brayshaw, who was just 1 disposal shy of 40 disposals, which basically means if you want to put a tag on Fremantle, you better not, because no matter what, they're still going to have a midfielder who's just going to absolute dominate. Shai Bolton turned to an absolute superstar, 32 disposals and 1 elite goal. And Luke Ryan, who was actually a late in for the squad, was an absolute lock in the back line. It took 11 strong marks in that back line, and I'll be shocked if he doesn't play this game. Richmond lost to Gold Coast by 68 points at the MCG. They put up a great fight in the first half, but when Lynch went down, they all seemed to go downward. Lane Curvis also finished his game at 3/4 time, coming off with an injury. Shannon Shaw also had yet again another sensational game, even though he actually started the game on the bench. Taranto Locanelio, he was an absolute tackling machine that game. Richmond have an even harder task than they did have to verse Gold Coast of the G. They're having to make the trip over to Perth, which is already hard enough, to face a very, very good Fremantle side. Now, I feel like this is a simple tip. I don't even need to go into too much detail anymore. Fremantle, Optus Stadium, just guaranteed docket domination. I'm going to go with Fremantle to win this by 45 points. Now, Essendon versus North up next at Marvel Stadium. So there's a double header at Marvel Stadium on this Saturday. Now with Essendon, I legit got nothing else to say. Cuddy kicked 4, missed one from right in front, absolutely shocking. Durham led 7 tackles, Parrish had 8 clearances. There's nothing really else to say. They looked like they gave up in the second half. Now North Melbourne just lost to the Eagles at Optus by 17 points. North played good for at least around 2 quarters, which was the first and the fourth quarter, but the rest of those middle 2 quarters, the second and third, it was just ugly for them. Shearswood, 15 disposals in the first quarter, ended the game off with 40 disposals. To be fair, 40 disposals and he had 4 score involvements, meaning every 10 disposals he had a score involvement. So it was kind of cheap disposals if you think about it. Shurry dominated in ruck. Flynn was genuinely just horrible, honestly. He still had a good effect in the game, Flynn, but in ruck wise, he was just getting dominated. And North Melbourne, they were way more efficient with their disposals and their inside 50s, but they still ended up losing the game. Now, both teams are coming off losses, but North Melbourne are definitely just a way better team going to this game. I'm going to go with North to go win by 20 points. Moving on to the Sunday game, starting off 9:30 a.m. my time, 12:30 p.m. Vic time. It's Port Adelaide versus West Coast at the Adelaide Oval. Now, Port Adelaide, they just demolished Essendon at the Adelaide Oval. Rosie came off in the third quarter with a hamstring injury. Butters had 36 disposals and was super damaging in that Port midfield. Jason Horne-Francis and Jack Lacoste just combined for 6 goals. And Alir was just so strong in the back line. He had nearly took 20 marks. And with team stat wise, nothing else really to say. Port Adelaide dominated Essendon in every single team stat. Now moving off to West Coast, Eagles are coming off a great win over to North, getting their first win in 308 days. Harley Reid had his first ever 30 disposal game. He just shut down North in the last 3 quarters and absolutely copped a punch by Comben. Jamie Cripps is 33 years old, by the way, and he's still kicking absolute great goals. He kicked 3 goals against North. Please, Jamie Cripps, never retire. The young Tours are also showing some promising signs. Shanahan, who got rising star nom in round 2, CDT, Cooper Duff-Tyler, and Archer Reid all kicked 2 goals each. Flynn contributed to 1 good play that game, and that was his great goal that he kicked, which was also a goal of the year contender for round 2. And it was a very even game, but for the final 3 quarters, Eagles just got the better of North. Now, Port at home, hard to tip against them. The loss of Rosie obviously may not affect them as much this game, but Eagles will go into this week with lots of confidence. And last time we played Port at the Adelaide Oval, it was actually quite a close game. I'm going to go with Port Adelaide by 38 points. I'm going to be barely awake for this game as it is starting at 9:30 in the bloody morning. Now moving on to the final game of the round, we have Carlton versus Melbourne. Now Carlton had their bye last week, but in round 1, they had their most undeserving win I have ever seen. Jagger Smith is genuinely a generational talent. He had another 30 plus disposal game. I'm genuinely thinking Tom Lynch is a double agent for Carlton, which won't be a problem this game. But also, I'll just say it again, 1 goal in the second half is absolutely atrocious. Pittonet is actually a solid ruck, 25 hitouts, 13 disposals, and a goal to his name. Harry Mackay and Mitch McGovern also kicked 2 goals each. Let's look at Melbourne's side now, who are coming back from a Perth trip where they went down by 48 points to the Dockers. Gordon was very strong in ruck. He had 27 hitouts, 27 disposals, and also 7 clearances. What's with the number 7 for Gordon? Jack Steele had his first great game for the D's. He had 31 disposals, 9 clearances. Bailey French, Ed Langdon, and Harry Sharp combined for 6 goals. And Melbourne didn't even look too bad, honestly, against Fremantle. It's just, Fremantle was just a way better midfield group. Now, I have Melbourne to win this game by 23 points. I just can't see Carlton winning since, in my eyes, they haven't even won a game this year. Horrible second half performances seem to running through Carlton, and that should get Melbourne over the line. And the buys this week are also Gold Coast, Hawthorn, Sydney, and the Bulldogs. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.